Welcome to MensNet. We're glad that you're with us. My name is Mel Feit. I run the National Center for Men, and tonight I will be filling in for Tony Nazzaro and Roy Barreca. We're going to talk tonight about men's reproductive choice, and the question will be, should a man have the right to decline the responsibilities of fatherhood after a conception takes place? After there's been a contraceptive failure, should he have the right to say to his female partner, you knew I didn't want to be a father, now do not expect me to be responsible financially or otherwise for this child? That will be the question for discussion. Now, I have run the National Center for Men for 17 years, and in that time I have tried very hard to find exactly the right arguments to make so that at least people would understand the men's reproductive rights point of view. And I don't believe I've ever gotten it any better than when I first started. It was a few months before we began the National Center for Men. I was in a relationship with a woman, and I thought she should know how I feel about this. So we talked. I was living in a little one-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn, and we sat in my living room, and I told her that I could tell that when she and I were in bed together, she seemed to have this ability to just block out the world. It was as if she could lose herself in the moment and just really revel in the intimacy that the two of us had. There was an exuberance and a joy and an intensity to her sexuality. And I wanted to have that, but I couldn't. And the reason was that I had already decided to try to make the men's movement a career, and I knew it wouldn't be the kind of career where I'd make a lot of money, so I understood that a sudden obligation for child support would ruin my future plans. And I knew then that every time that she and I loved one another physically, that I was putting my future at risk. She, of course, had no similar concern. She had the security of knowing that no matter what happened, she would have control of the choices in her life. I knew the risks I was taking, so my experience of intimacy was always laced with anxiety and worry and fear. And I told her that. And she listened to me for a moment, and then she got up and left. And I thought, well, you know, at least I said what I had to say. And then a few hours later, she called me on the phone, and she said, you know, I've had a chance to think about what you said, and I now understand. What you want is what I already have. And of course, that's what you should have. I understand that the men's movement means many different things to men and women in our movement. It's an incredibly diverse movement. I know this. For me, personally, men's rights advocacy has always been about one principal thing, and that is equal partnership. I believe that men and women are capable of a partnership that is rooted in a profound equality, where rights and responsibilities are shared completely. I think it's a very romantic, loving, sexy vision of relationships between men and women because it contemplates a great intimacy. But I will tell you this, there is no possibility that as men and women we can have an equal sexual partnership or an equal partnership of any kind as long as women can have sexual intimacy free from the fear of forced parenthood and men cannot, as long as a man can be forced into parenthood and a woman cannot, as long as the law permits women to separate sex from procreation and men cannot. There's no hope. There's no possibility of an equal partnership of any kind. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to see what remedies there are, if any, for what I think is an extraordinary double standard. Joining me on the panel to discuss this issue of reproductive choice tonight is Ms. Deborah Denno. Ms. Denno is a professor of law at Fordham University Law School in Manhattan. Welcome back to MensNet, Deborah.
Thank you very much, Mel.
And Sal Sal Lagonia is an attorney in private practice in Yorktown Heights. Welcome back to MensNet.
Good evening.
Sal. And Steve Metzger. You know, you and I have been at this a long time, Steve, going way back to the mid-1980s, and a lot of people forget that, but when you and I started in the men's movement, way back then, you know, it was actually illegal to be a man in the state of New York. So you and I have made a lot of progress.
Know all about it.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be with you and to do this. Thank you all for being here with me. Okay, let's just get right to it. Let me just pose a question that may have a yes or no answer. I'm not sure, but let me ask it. Do you think one person should have the right to force another person to become a parent against his or her will? Personal opinions.
Personally, I don't think that's right, but in the context of your hypothetical or your personal story, and I don't mean to be insulting, that's an extraordinary woman that you knew who had no concern while she was making love with you about the fact that she could possibly get pregnant. I don't know of a woman like that. That for the people I know, and I won't get as personal, that's a constant concern when you're making love with another person, that you could possibly get pregnant. You're the one who has to bear the child. You're the one who also can lose their livelihood as a result of that, or lose money. You have absolutely no idea whether the person you're making love with would ever help support, or would just be a deadbeat father who would never support the child that you can conceive. So your story is like something I've never heard. In fact, I think many women, if you're going to poll them, would say there's the reverse, that the man seems to be enjoying himself, where the woman is the one worrying about potential pregnancy.
But you would have choice, Deborah. You would have options.
The man certainly has choice.
Legally
he does not have to ejaculate into the woman and get her pregnant.
But the woman has choice even after she's chosen to have sex. She still has choice.
The man has the choice not to ejaculate in the woman and make her pregnant.
And the point is that, without belaboring the point, that if a woman chooses to have sex after a conception takes place, she still has choice. And the question is, should men and women have some choice after the conception, or do you think
that
women...
Well, if you're talking about after the conception, then that's an entirely different issue, but I do think that men should be more careful about getting women pregnant.
You see, a judge in New York State ruled that when it comes to reproductive choice and the rights of men, that a man has absolutely no rights after the moment of ejaculation. That's the law. That was a correct reading of the law. And
in other words, a man can't force a woman to get pregnant, to have an abortion.
He has no say whatsoever in his future, in the course of his life, after an ejaculation.
He can't force a woman to have an abortion. A woman can't force a man to have a vasectomy.
The point is that if you're going to tell me that I have no rights whatsoever after the moment of ejaculation, please don't come to me and tell me what my responsibility should be.
I'm telling you that you can't, I don't think it's right that you can force a woman to have an abortion. I don't think women should be able to force men to have vasectomies, but we have
other people that you're right.
Yes, that's
my
right.
question, do you think a person should have the right to force another person to become a parent against his or her will? I was looking for personal opinion.
My answer is no.
And you would no.
Yeah, I think that actually, this sounds to me like a great argument. You were talking about, your relationship there, and about the goal of having equal partnership, which to me is not only just a goal with respect to the law, but it's also a goal with respect to the personal relationship and the psychological relationship you have with that person. To me, this is a very good argument for marriage.
Well,
and down with extramarital sex.
Right, but is it possible, the law now allows the woman to have reproductive choice after a conception takes place and not the man? My view is that it's not possible for men and women to have an equal partnership. To me, this is a central issue about the role of sexuality in our lives, and the law does permit women to separate sexual intimacy from procreation. The law does not permit men to do that. Another judge ruling in New Mexico said that every time a man makes love with a woman, a 21-year time bomb is ticking in his life. And that's also an accurate description of the law in New Mexico and many other states. No woman has had to face that, Sal.
Well, the more tragic case to me, anyway, is the opposite of that. The woman and man are in some kind of relationship, whether it be marriage or not, and I agree it should be marriage, but she gets pregnant. And now the woman decides, I'm not going to take the inconvenience of having this child, I'm not going to miss work for a couple of months at the end of my pregnancy, et cetera, and so I'm going to abort this child. What right does the man have at that point? And the answer is none.
He has none. Well, the question is that he could get down on his knees and plead with her tearfully, please don't kill my baby, please, 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 I'll do anything, I'll take care of it, you'll have no responsibilities. He has absolutely no say at all.
Correct.
Do you think he should?
Yeah, I absolutely think he should.
You think he should be able to force her to bear pregnancy?
It's the great hypocrisy of the system. We're told that you made that child, so you're going to pay child support no matter what. If you go to court, it's important enough you're going to pay child support. But you know what?